While I mostly make videos on Los Angeles, I do have an appreciation for American cities as a whole. So in this new series, Forgotten Cities, I'll be going over a bunch of American cities, such as Schenectady. I'm joking, of course, we're going all the way to Utica. Utica, New York is a place that I've actually been because a lot of my family came from there. It's a really cool city with a lot of really nice architecture, and I mean, the city is stunning. The old brick buildings are really a marvel to look at, and if you want to go to like some old post-industrial cities, go to Utica. It is a place I absolutely recommend. They have a runner's marathon, a lot of trees, a lot of greenery, and some just epic looking architecture, and some not so epic looking architecture. Of course, it is still a modern American city, but it has a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of charm, a lot of lack of charm, but you can tell it's trying. And that station, my goodness, that station, Union Station in Utica, New York, is absolutely gorgeous. It is probably one of my favorite train stations that I have ever been to. It is pretty, it has amazing trains, and I mean, come on, it is super cool. It's just that Amtrak really needs to run a lot more service on it. Other than that, they do have the Adirondack Railroad that runs through there, and you can see some gorgeous views of the area. Now, for population, it has about 63,000 people, which is almost half of how much it used to have, or about 60% of its total height population of 101,000, which peaked in the 1950s and 60s. It's a shame that its population has shrunk so far, but it is still the 10th largest city in the state of New York. For all my California folks, Anaheim is the 10th largest city in California, and it has 340,000 people in it. The difference in population between 10th largest city in New York, which is known for New York City, and the 10th largest city in Los Angeles is absolutely staggering. However, this does make a lot of sense. It's not that big of a city at only about 4 miles long each way, and it's mostly suburban homes and kind of smaller Victorian early America styled homes. It has a lot of great greenery, and it has a very good access to a lot of cool things like farms and more farms and some really cool art museums. But as you can see from the map, it is definitely mostly single family homes located on a rectilineal grid system, and overall that grid works pretty well. And because of the small size of the city, I highly recommend biking here because the traffic isn't all too bad, and it does have some apartments, but as you can see, those are basically just concentrated around Genoese Street, or Genoese. I never asked my family how to pronounce that road, so you know what, I'm kind of a dunce for that one. But it has some couple cool traffic circles, and I really like them. Personally, some of my family members are like, I don't really like them, they're a little too confusing. No, they're fine. They keep things slow, and that park is absolutely pathetic. Yes, that green space is a park. What are you doing, Utica? With all the cool statues and the charm of once being a very powerful and populated city, you have a lot of great architecture and monuments to what this city once was. Beautiful church spires, beautiful bricks, a whole lot of fantastic looking statues, and just a really great sense of character and charm, which is something you can only really get from one of these older post-industrial cities. More specifically, the rail yard used to be a lot bigger. Now, for an American city, it is pretty unique in that it's surrounded by all of this farmland, and it kind of has almost a European vibe in that sense because you have all these villages around it, so it is pretty unique. But with how much depleted the downtown core was, you can notice that it used to have a streetcar network. This is another case of a American city that was once proud and powerful and had amazing streetcar networks being demolished for the car. It had a dense downtown urban core, and they bulldozed it all, got rid of the streetcars, and the city is a lot worse off for it. Now, a lot of it's because jobs just moved elsewhere. Utica didn't really sprawl out, as you can see, so what you can see with Utica is kind of what you get, and you just have this almost sad depopulation decline within the city as people moved away, and it's just very sad to see, but it still has a lot of those good bones, and a lot of people like this place. It has had a slight uptick in people over the last few years, but the loss of that streetcar network and replacement with just a subpar bus service is pretty sad. And it's just sad to see how many American cities like Utica had robust public transit networks and streetcar networks that were just gutted for the car. Take, for example, Lower Genesee Street, or I guess North Genesee Street now, and it was just, they removed so many homes, so many apartments, so many businesses, all for wider roads and parking, and it can just, looking at the downtown, you can tell it was depleted, and it is just utterly absurd what we allowed American cities to become. But again, even though so much was lost, a lot of the charm is there. A lot of those old 1907 buildings, 1920 buildings are still there. And they do have an urban renewal program, basically trying to get more people to rebuild Utica into the modern age. And although their website very clearly hasn't been updated in quite a while based off of some fonts that I can tell, it is still a pretty good resource if you want to see what the city is doing. And as you can see, their urban renewal boundary is basically 50 to 70% of the entire city. And it just shows how much needs to be redone and revamped and brought back, because a lot has been depleted, even in the suburban areas. And the city isn't alone in trying to fix its problems. It is getting funding from the New York state government, from private investors, to try and rebuild and build more housing there. They're going to be doing a bunch of multi-million-dollar investments in the area, which is pretty good. Now, unfortunately, it seems most of it is for affordable housing, and there's nothing wrong inherently with affordable housing, but you get more affordable housing by just building more housing. So it's kind of like, okay, this is good, but I think they need to focus more on building housing first and maybe making it affordable later, or just putting like a affordable housing element. However, it's still really good that they're building housing. They just need to build more, but also have those public transit connections to the wider network, because as far as I can tell, it's not really enough as to what they have at the moment, but I'll go into that a little bit later in the video. As for now, these new developments, they're slowly drip feeding along, which is pretty good, and they do have some new stuff, like the new art space Utica Lost, which is pretty cool. It's in downtown Utica, and it is already open if you want to move to Utica. Yeah, you have brand new apartments. Architecturally speaking, I'm not the biggest fan. I see what they're going for with the kind of, ooh, it has multiple buildings like a small downtown thing, but it just went too simplified, too modern, and kind of looks ugly in a lot of angles. So I think the stonework on the bottom, really good. The top, what the heck were they thinking? Where are the details? And while the public transit is available and that beautiful station is used, Amtrak only runs like 4 to 7 trains per day to Utica, which just is, it's not enough. It's not awful, but for a regional connector, it's kind of sad. Obviously, it's not complete high speed like the Shinkansen in Japan, but I think they really need to focus on expanding their regional networks, especially to multiple the Empire State Line. The Empire Line is really nice, but it's old, it's on old track, and it needs a lot of updating. I know Amtrak has a very long list of things they need to update, but having really poor times on very strong regional connector routes is really sad. And compared to other places in the United States and Canada, which get like 5 to 2 trains per day, it's not awful. Now, this is what I'd like to see them do with Utica. They definitely need better public transit, but first off, they need infill development. There's a lot of open parking lot spaces that is just primed to be filled with homes and businesses and mixed use, and they need to fix their public transit network. The lack of light rail, even though the city had it when it was a much smaller population, in fact, when it had the same population as it was now, it had a full-on streetcar network, but now it's just a few buses that are run by Centro, and it's not that great. However, biking, because the city is pretty small, is also a pretty good option, so maybe focus on a bike network as well. But also, Amtrak, please, run more trains, It's really cool that you're doing all this new Acela stuff, but you still need to upgrade your Empire service. I know, poor Amtrak, there's just a massive backlog, but they need to update a lot of their routes, and hopefully in the future they can get that running with the new Acela stuff and better tracking. However, that's it for this video. This city is one of my favorites. It has a lot of charm. The people are amazing. The food is amazing, especially if you love Italian. And I mean, come on, all the shops are like pizza shops, which is funny, but you know, it's not New York City, but it is very interesting. And I love the area. I love the charm. So if you live in Utica, thank you for watching this video. If you don't live in Utica, thank you for watching this video. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And always remember that knowledge is power, trains are cool, and so are you. How's that for that little catchphrase? You know, I think it's pretty clever. You know, I think it's pretty. Could you please like and subscribe? I'm not the Joker, but okay, that's just not funny. It's just creepy. What am I doing? What?